Kia ora, good evening. A 3-week-old baby is still in a critical condition at Starship Hospital, having suffered life-threatening injuries in an incident at an Invercargill house in the early hours of Monday morning. Police expected to conclude a scene examination at the Princes Street home today and have launched a criminal investigation into the incident. 15 police staff are working on the investigation. Police won't comment on the nature or cause of the baby's injuries, nor would Inspector Olaf Jensen comment on whether police have finished speaking to her parents or on the possibility of an arrest, saying the investigation is ongoing. Police have said they are not seeking anyone else in relation to the incident. Once the cordon is removed, likely today, the occupants can then return to the house. While it may not feel like it in the deep south today, New Zealand has seen the warmest winter on record this year. NIWA scientists say it's the warmest winter since 1909, with record high mean temperatures for winter throughout the South Island. Mean temperatures in Southland were well above average by more than 1.2 degrees Celsius. Winter sunshine hours were also above normal for some of the country, including parts of Western Southland, while the remainder had near normal sunshine hours. However, not without inclement weather, with snow and heavy rain also making an appearance at times in Southland during winter. ANZ Bank is consolidating its 2 Invercargill branches into one, but says no jobs will be lost. The move follows a merger last year in which the National Bank and ANZ brands were merged, becoming the ANZ Bank New Zealand. ANZ is closing its Don Street branch later this year, with staff to move to the larger nearby Kelvin Street branch, which was originally a National Bank site. A spokesman says, given the close proximity, ANZ is confident the move will cause minimal inconvenience. He says ANZ remains strongly committed to Southland, as evidenced by the recent opening of a newly refurbished branch in Riverton. Online voting is set to be trialled in the 2016 local authority elections. Local Government Minister Chris Tremaine announced today an online voting trial will take place in 3 years' time. Digital voting is seen as a way to encourage people to become involved in the democratic process. Options, costs and security issues involved in online voting will be tackled by a working party from government, local authorities and information technology experts. 2 local authorities have already volunteered to take part on the trial, which is hoped to increase participation with a traditionally low voter turnout during local elections. There will be more fee-free education available for under-25s from next year. The age group for the Youth Guarantee Scheme is set to be expanded, while intensive and extra short-duration training courses will replace the failed foundation-focused training opportunities. I spoke to Southern Institute of Technology CEO Penny Simmons, who says it goes some way to offering opportunities for students who didn't do well in compulsory schooling.
To give them that introduction into something different that's applied and vocational, so it might be a much more hands-on course. It might be a trades course, a carpentry or automotive or something like that, that sparks their interest better and gives a better context for their learning. So often it's students who struggled within the school environment, but once they can apply this to a context that they understand and are interested in, often quite passionate in, it opens up those education and training opportunities for them.
So SIT has been providing the Youth Guarantee skills already, but that's going to be extended to 18 and 19-year-olds. Will the level 1 and 2, will it be enough education in helping providing employment opportunities for these children?
Yes, I think so. I think the additional places are going to be really welcomed, and the additional age, the 18 and 19-year-olds, is going to be really welcome. So this is targeting, again, getting those young people their start on their tertiary education, and it's been tremendously successful. We've had 62 equivalent full-time students in the Youth Guarantee Scheme this year. It's been going for about 3 years, and every year we've grown the numbers, and in fact we get better completion rates for our Youth Guarantee students. We get over 80% completion for these students because we're wrapping support around them, so support for transport, support for extracurricular activities, support with their study skills, and so it's understanding that these students need some additional assistance, but once you get them started and on the case, then they're really responding well, and we're getting great outcomes from them.
So government's announced today that anyone under 25 will be able to obtain level 2 qualifications fee-free. Does it mean that the SIT will eventually have more money out of this?
I think it means that there'll be more people who will be able to access our courses, and obviously we've had the zero fees scheme for a while, so we've kind of cottoned onto this quite early. But I think it's really important that it removes barriers for people at that introductory level, giving them a start up into their tertiary education.
Stay with us. After the break, Fonterra announces the findings of its operational review following its recent precautionary recall. Welcome back. Air pollution standards have been breached close to a dozen times in Invercargill this year. Over winter, air quality standards have been breached 11 times in Invercargill and 3 times in Gore. This compares with 24 breaches in Invercargill for the same time in 2012. Environment Southland air quality scientist Owen West says an assessment is yet to be undertaken as to why there were fewer breaches this winter, but the warmer temperatures may have had an impact. The Ministry for the Environment has set the target date of 1 breach a year in the city by 2020. Fonterra has announced the findings of its operational review following its recent precautionary recall. Chief Executive Teo Spearing says the precautionary recall was not the result of one single cause, but was the result of a number of separate and unrelated events in an unforeseen sequence. The findings show the decision to reprocess the original WPC 80 and not downgrade the product, in combination with the use of an item of non-standard equipment, was the cause of the contamination. Among other findings, a one-off lapse in information sharing led to delays in testing, that the issue should have been escalated to CEO level earlier. Fonterra says it's implementing a number of improvements to help prevent any future incidents. Billboards are springing up around Invercargill as candidates begin campaigning ahead of local government elections. Signs have been popping up for those looking for seats on local councils, the Southern District Health Board and Invercargill Licensing Trust. They are subject to rules regarding size, location, how long they're allowed up for, and must also show authorisation. So far, no complaints have been made to Invercargill City Council, while Southland District Council and Environment Southland Electoral Officer Virginia Dillon says a couple of issues have been raised about improper authorisation. She says candidates have been advised. Papers for the postal ballot will be sent from September 20th. Hundreds of unused sports equipment was donated at Sports Southland today. Southlanders were asked to dig out unused sports equipment, from balls to rackets and anything in between, and donate it to the Pass It On campaign. The equipment will then be distributed amongst schools and community organisations. The idea was to collect unused sport and fitness gear and then redistribute it to those in need as a way to eliminate barriers to participation in sport. Sports Southland Chief Executive Brendan McDermott says he hopes it'll make physical activity more accessible.
Well, the end result for us is obviously to get more sporting equipment out into those that need it. We know from a lot of our programs like Kiwi Sport, if we can get more sports gear to those that need it, then we can get more kids and more adults into sport.
How much need do you think there is for this kind of gear out there?
I think there's a lot of need. There's a lot of people that just can't afford, there's a lot of pressures on people in terms of their home costs and everything, and if you can't afford the gear to actually get out and do it. And for kids, it's just about playing around and mucking around in the backyard, and if they can have the gear in their backyard to do that, or at schools, then they're more likely to love sport and get into it.
So where will this equipment be going?
We don't know that yet. What we're going to do is collate all the list of all the gear up and put that out to the schools, clubs, and also other community groups. It might be churches or what have you. And then from there we'll get them to apply, and hopefully they'll tell us some stories, some good stories about why they need it, and we'll redistribute the gear to them. What
kind of things have you had coming in?
All sorts. The typical basketballs, rugby balls, squash rackets, cricket gear. We've also had treadmills, ab machines, weights, that sort of thing as well. So right across the board, skis, a lot of skis as well. So we'll take anything and try and get it back out there and get people using it.
Southland students took a break from the classroom today to try their luck at starting businesses. Run by the Young Enterprise Trust, the BP Business NZ Challenge is the 3-day workshop where Year 11 students form groups and create virtual businesses. 75 students from Southland Boys and Southland Girls High Schools took part in the challenge, which finished today with students presenting their ideas to judges. Young Enterprise Trust Head of Enterprise Secondary, Robin Frey, says the workshops help students to get a taste of the business world. They take away skills including business development, creativity and marketing. Invercargill's BNZ Bank was closed for business today as the bank shut up shop around the country, sending staff to help out their local communities instead. Now in its 4th year, BNZ's Closed for Good initiative saw more than 3,500 employees volunteering in the one-day event, including staff from around Southland. In Invercargill today, volunteers were helping at Sport Southland, Waihopai School and Otatara School. The weather did somewhat hamper work at Otatara School, but the volunteers still got into some gardening work as well as preparing decorations for the school's grounds. The idea is to lend a hand to not-for-profit community groups. And that's it from news. Coming up in sport, we talk to sports journalist Joseph Romanos from the news team. Good night.